Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Drink Water and Mind Your Business, a Black woman's guide to unlearning the BS and healing your self-esteem. By Dr. Donna Oriowo, narrated by Deanna Anthony. This title includes bonus material. To access, visit rbmediaglobal.com/audiobooks/search and search for this title. In the search results, click the title to visit the audiobook landing page. Access the PDF via the download bonus material link under downloads. Disclaimer. This publication is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering legal, accounting, or other professional service. If legal advice or other expert assistance is required, the services of a competent professional person should be sought. From a declaration of principles jointly adopted by a committee of the American Bar Association and a committee of publishers and associations. Forward. The relationship we have with ourselves sets the stage for all others to follow. It's no wonder there's been so much research and attention dedicated to helping us cultivate a solid one. A large part of what shapes our relationship with ourselves is how we feel about ourselves and our capabilities, in short, our self-esteem. There are many factors that shape our self-esteem, including our experiences with childhood caregivers, friendships, romantic relationships, race, gender, country of origin, and socioeconomic status, to name a few. And if we find ourselves at the intersection of Blackness and womanhood, there are likely some additional factors that become salient, including skin color, hair texture, and body features. While much attention has been paid to how self-esteem develops and what it looks like in other communities, far less attention has been given to how it develops and what it looks like in Black women, which is why the importance of this book cannot be understated. Writing the foreword for this book has unlocked a very serendipitous and on-brand memory for me that I absolutely must share. I spent a part of my summer in 1998 as a budding young researcher on the campus of Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. I had been accepted into the UNCF Mellon Mays Undergraduate Fellowship, designed for undergraduate students who were interested in pursuing a career in academia. So, of course, one of our first tasks was choosing a research question to explore and then setting out to design a study to answer that question. My question was, what is the relationship between skin color and self-esteem in Black women college students? Now, please forgive me because I do not remember much about this research project. I don't remember how many participants I had, what the findings were, or any of the juicy stuff. I do remember that I used the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale, RSC, to measure self-esteem in my participants, and I vaguely remember a navy blue folder that was used to contain all the papers I had for the project, but the rest is a blur. While it would be great to be able to remember more of the details about this very, very, very early work in my career, what feels most notable about this experience is that it marks a clear connecting point between my passion for Black women's mental health, the work that I do today with Therapy for Black Girls, and this important body of work offered by Dr. Oriowo. It's like our paths connected before we even knew the other existed. At the very grown age of 20, I had very little to contribute to the conversation about Black women's self-esteem and how it was developed. But thankfully, 20-plus years later, she has given us a magnificent starting point to dig deeper into this area, both for ourselves and with those in our community. As with much of the psychology and mental health field, the foundations for how we talk about self-esteem are largely based on a population that was not Black women. The RSC that I discussed earlier is probably the first instrument that was developed to measure self-esteem and was developed in 1979. Just think about what the world looked like then, and now think about what it looked like for Black women in particular. While some of the questions on the scale are fairly innocuous, I feel I have a number of good qualities. It's not hard to imagine how responding to a statement like, I am able to do things as well as most other people, could be pretty layered depending on who you are and how you identify. Who are these other people? Do they make you feel welcomed in the environment? Do these other people share resources, or are they actively trying to sabotage your efforts? You get the point. If self-esteem is being measured by statements like these, we must take into consideration the larger context that exists. And sadly, for far too long, this context has been absent. However, in Drink Water and Mind Your Business, that context is front and center, not as an aside, but as central to our understanding of the concept. And not only is the context central, there are connections between self-esteem and other areas that I have not seen explored in this way in any other literature. I was most moved by the connection Dr. Oriowo draws between self-esteem and sexuality. She makes very clear that we often hear about how low self-esteem is linked to promiscuity. But what about how self-esteem is linked to pleasure? I've certainly not seen that explored elsewhere and enjoyed the connections made in this chapter about how the stories were told about being fast as little girls impacts our self-esteem and ultimately our understanding of and ability to receive pleasure. I promise I won't spoil all the fun for you, but let me also just share one of my other favorite parts of the book, the connection between our self-talk and self-esteem. At a very basic level, it seems evident that, of course, how we talk to ourselves about ourselves is a reflection of our self-esteem. But the way in which she lays it out and connects it to love languages is both remarkable in its approach and easily accessible. With Drink Water and Mind Your Business, Dr. Oriowo has given Black women both new ideas on how to think about the relationships we have cultivated with ourselves, but also concrete strategies to improve the relationship. This work is a gift to Black women, people in relationships with us, and therapists holding space to help us heal. It brilliantly weaves theory with practice and provides the listener with an easy-to-follow journey of exploring what this thing called self-esteem is all about and how to improve it. I am grateful that Dr. Oriowo was bold enough to answer the call to share this work. We are all better for it. Wishing you care and gentleness as you begin listening. You are in good hands. Dr. Joy Harden Bradford, licensed psychologist and founder of Therapy for Black Girls, author of Sisterhood Heals, The Transformative Power of Healing in Community. Introduction. I love Black women. I love the way we walk and talk. The way we show vulnerability and strength, the way we move into rooms, the way we birth ideas, products, smiles, and love. I love Black women, not just because I am one, and it would be expected of me, but because of who we are in America and throughout the world. What I don't like, what I don't love, is the ways in which the world around us has operated to hurt and keep us in our place. What I don't appreciate is the way, from one generation to the next, traumas are passed on like heirlooms. What I don't like is that because of the fucked up world around us, we have internalized the belief that something is wrong with us. It's almost absurd to type, something is wrong with us, when we know a world built for rich white men could never and would never deign to be a world that sees us and accepts us for who we are. This may be why I so fiercely love Black women. The work I do centers us. I am a Black woman who serves Black women in all that I do. And I am tired. I am tired of doing the most for the least. Tired of not being seen. Tired of the work it takes every day to be me in a world that shouts at me every day to conform, to give up what and who I am in order to fit into the boxes that they have created. As a therapist, I am tired of seeing how the world beats down my clients the same way it has beaten me down. There is almost something primal about it. There is this need I have to protect Black women from the way these systems operate, to expose it, so we are aware, I talk about it all the time, but I never think folk really hear me, so I want to say it here and to you. Let this introduction be the point of reference for everything you learn moving forward in this book and in how we all move forward in doing this healing work. What you don't know, I am an avid reader and book lover. I am trying to grow a baby library in my house and in the Amazon cloud. I love Black women like that, like a book. The front cover is beautiful and eye-catching, giving you the barest hints of what's inside, much in the same way that my work calls to Black women. To say you are seen in that regard, I serve as a therapist, teacher, friend, and a guide for free and at cost, helping Black women along their story. On the back end, I have our backs. The anti-racism work I do with training organizations and corporations about diversity, equity, and inclusion is more about protecting all the loveliness that we are than about helping them to meet invisible quotas and make false promises about how they will improve. I want change for our benefit, for our freedom, and for our wellness. However, as will always be true, I know that my work will always start with us. Why? So that we are prepared to be in the spaces that are ready to receive us, so that we can help to cultivate those places that want us, and that when we get there, they know that nobody puts baby in a corner. Nice to meet you. Before we have even been properly introduced, you already know me to be tired. Yikes! So let me backtrack on that. I want to introduce myself using the Johari window concept. The Johari window is a visual framework you can use to identify and understand both your conscious and unconscious biases. It speaks to the truth of who we are and can help with developing self-awareness. The window model separates the self into 4 window panes: public, private, blind, and undiscovered. The public self is what everyone can see and what you allow them to see. The private self is not known to the public. It is only known to you and the few people you select to share it with. The blind self is what others can see and note about you, but of which you are not aware, also known as blind spots. And the undiscovered self is simply that, undiscovered. It is information about you that has yet to be uncovered, maybe due to a lack of life experience or because you have not yet thought to explore other aspects of yourself. For whatever reason, it is closed off from you. For now. A visual of the Johari window can be seen in the accompanying bonus PDF. Normally, I would ask you to explore your public and private selves through values alone. However, we are here specifically to talk about your self-esteem. Journal work. Think about your self-esteem and how it shows up in public spaces. How do you see and experience your self-esteem privately? And if you're feeling brave, ask a friend, a family member, or just people you interact with semi-regularly what they have noticed about how your self-esteem is expressed or not expressed. This gives us a starting point. In Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Marie Brown, I appreciated that the author began her story by introducing herself and her point of view. Introductions not only let you know someone's name, but they can help to build trust. And we are definitely going to need some trust, especially for some of what I'm going to say here. I am Dr. Donna Oriowo. I am the daughter of 2 Nigerian immigrant parents who first immigrated to Belgium, tried on London for a day, went back to Belgium, and then came on over to America. I was born in Washington, D.C. during a blizzard in early November. I was raised on jollof rice and mumbo sauce. I'm a product of D.C. and Maryland public schools. I lived with a grandma who was not my grandma for a time. I have made and lost friends over time. I am telling you this bit because it gives you some context. You know how people talk about being unbiased? Well, it's a whole lie, and I can't start our new relationship, our journey together, based on a lie. Here is my basic Johari window. Public. I value authenticity, freedom, and self-esteem. But to be honest, I can't say I had high self-esteem growing up. I was more in the fake it till you make it club. My most memorable coming into self moment happened while writing my dissertation on texturism and realizing how much pain I was holding about my appearance. The process brought heightened anxiety, anger, and sorrow before healing made itself known. And I ain't done, because healing ain't a destination, nor is it finite. Private. I find that I struggle with the space of how others see me and how I see myself. I have to remember what is and is not mine and come back to myself. When I do this, I feel at peace. There are always new levels to experiencing myself, and when I uncover them, I move back into anxiety before I get back to healing. Blind. Earlier, I said that we cannot see this part of ourselves. It is based on the experience of others. So, it would seem ridiculous that I would have anything to add here, except that I have asked. Note, ask others what they see in you only when you are ready to accept the fullness of their answer without blame and shame. It's okay to consider this and admit to yourself you're not yet ready. With regard to my self-esteem, I have been told that I present like I have it together, but that I don't always give myself the credit for my badassness. Another friend said, I think you express your self-esteem by taking up space. I think sometimes people might not realize your struggles because you speak the language of someone with a really positive self-concept. Or basically, my self-concept looks good out in the public space, but if they don't know, they don't know. I have been told that I am a person who appears to be self-absorbed, that I have high self-esteem but spend my time questioning it, that I present as a know-it-all. I have determined that this is more to do with my speaking in statements as opposed to having unstated question marks at the end of all of my sentences, and that I can be abrasive. Telling you all of this could feel really embarrassing, but in this moment, it doesn't. It just feels like the truth of who I am. I am a person who can and does struggle with separating my self-esteem from my worth defined by others, but I still know what I know and that we can make it through together. No one has it all together, so there is no need for me to present myself like I do. There will always be new levels the more we learn about ourselves and our place in the world. Healing is a constant practice, not a one and done. Like eating to sate your hunger, you must return to healing yourself as often as needed. Undiscovered. Still undiscovered. Other info about me that may come up. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, 2 master's degrees, one in social work and the other in education, and a doctorate degree in human sexuality. While these things often define a person's financial trajectory, they do not define who I am as a human being. That is me as the human doing, constantly on the team doing too much. My stance in this project. I write this book in the knowledge and belief that white, patriarchal, capitalistic, heteronormative, supremacist delusion is the thing that has been oppressing us all, and that no one actually benefits under its thumb, not even the whites. My experiences with sexism, racism, colorism, texturism, etc., have shaped a lot of how I see the world around me and have shaped the very nature of who I am. Power is present in all relationships, including the one we have with ourselves, impacting how we feel, think, and behave. Healing is a politically charged word that calls in the toxic nature of the systems we are involved in. So healing is also ongoing work, since the systems are ongoing. I talk directly and specifically to Black women, but that doesn't mean other folk can't get something from this too. I cuss. A lot. I believe that separation of concepts and ideas is an illusion that keeps us from gaining traction toward our actualized selves. Pleasure and sexuality are often left out of conversations about self-esteem, and I think it's foolhardy and dangerous. Change and growth are uncomfortable AF. I am a therapist, not your therapist. Act accordingly. I make no promises of healing your self-esteem. I take no responsibility for your healing. That is for you to do and for me to hope for. Lastly, you need to be prepared. What I offer and how I offer it is truly based on who I am and the experiences I have had. It brings me pleasure to share with you what I know and what I have learned. I told you I wouldn't lie to you. I am telling it based on my eyes because the idea of objectivity is a whole-assed lie, and I don't want to pass it on in this book. That would be the opposite of bringing me pleasure, and it would be of little help to you. I am moving into this book as a Black, first-gen, eldest daughter, sophista ratchet, DC-born, PG, pretty girl, country-raised, product of an illustrious HBCU, Morgan State, pansexual, married to a Black man, social working, therapy-doing woman. These things color my experiences as well as the ways I talk, feel, and write about healing the self-esteem of Black women. Part 1. Mind over matter. You can't solve the problem you don't or won't see. I don't know about you, but all my life when I came up to a roadblock, people would say, mind over matter. People making fun of you at school, don't mind them, mind over matter. Having a hard time grasping a taught concept, mind over matter. Feeling unwelcome or judged at work and it's impacting how well you work, mind over matter. As far as the folk who see it like a prayer are concerned, using your full mind will make it so that any adversity doesn't matter. It's all in your head. Can I be honest? I think mind over matter, quite frankly, is bullshit. It's a false narrative akin to pulling yourself up by your bootstraps while not noting any of the conditions that may actively or passively prevent you from doing so. Mind over matter is a phrase that makes the systemic issue an individual one. Admittedly, I am still fond of this idiom. I use it here, both as a joke and as a request. The joke is in the fact that we know yelling at an armless, shoeless person will not help them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps any faster. I guess it's more ironic than funny. The request herein is that you, as my mother would say, mind what you are doing, or face your front. Lovingly known as the true mind your business. We have to take care of that which is in front of us, but this requires us to have knowledge of what our business is. More to the point, what I'm saying here is that we need to make sure that we are taking the time to look back before we can go further into our goal of healing our own self-esteem. When people talk about putting mind over matter, they often fail to note that in order to do so, you have to know the full parameters of what is going on. That's the only way you can understand exactly what it is that you need to overcome mentally in order to produce physical manifestations of that change. That is what I'm asking us to do now. Our first step in learning to put our mind over the matter of race, of sexuality, and of our self-esteem is to cultivate an in-depth knowledge of how we even got to this point. Because as any therapist will tell you, the first step in being able to solve a problem is to acknowledge it. For me, the second step is having a working operational definition of the problem, which includes knowing both its etymology and its etiology. To simplify, we gotta know the history because context matters. In Ghana, there is a word, Sankofa, which means going back to move forward. We cannot go forward in the way that we choose without knowledge and acknowledgement of what has been. Otherwise, we may be doomed to repeat the past. In Part 1, we will wholly define the problem, particularly the problem of traditional self-help practices and how they fail to address the self-esteem of Black women. This is where we get a more robust understanding of what the problem is, so that we can place our minds over the matter of this foolishness. In other words, this is where we get on top your matter. Chapter 1. What the hell is self-esteem anyway? Who TF is self-esteem for? I'm getting ahead of myself already because we haven't even defined self-esteem, but it's a question I want you to keep in mind as you listen to this chapter. Asking who self-esteem is for may seem like an odd question in the first place. Doesn't everyone have self-esteem, good or bad? But I promise it will make sense later. Who TF is this book for? This book is for Black women. I think the title may have already suggested that, but you know how people like to throw the word Black into the title for extra props with no actual substance. When I say women, I am talking about any Black self-identified woman. I don't care what you were born with. I care about who you know yourself to be. This is for any Black woman who has struggled with the idea of self-esteem. For the Black women who think about imposter syndrome in the workplace. For the Black women who wonder why they attract fuck folk. This is for Black women who already look like they have it all together, but feel a whole different way inside. This is for Black women who feel generally okay about where they are until they get into spaces with other people. This is for Black women who could be your mom, sister, cousin, friend, enemy, stranger, and so forth. If you have felt the strain of self-esteem in big or small ways, I know this book will have something to offer you. If your self-esteem depends on the money you have or don't have in the bank, the lightness or darkness of your skin, on what you look like, if it depends on if you have been picked for a relationship, on your job status, etc., then this book is for you. I already have you in mind. I am not going to leave you out. This book is also for women of color and white women. Now, let me be real. If you're in that last category, I'm not going to talk directly to you, but that doesn't mean you can't benefit from this work. So gather your shit and let's take this journey together. She think this book's special or something? Everybody thinks the thing they're doing is so unique and so special. And I am no different, sis. I got to thinking about what makes this work different. I admit, I do not have all the answers. I'm not here to sell you the idea that only I have the true key to good self-esteem. I won't pretend to be the only person with knowledge in this area or even to be the capital E expert. I think that is the height of arrogance, and I believe I'm not that arrogant, being Nigerian aside, which means for me, this needed to come with additional components. So you will discover that there are other therapists' definitions of self-esteem throughout this book, as well as maybe a tip or two. And what I'd like you to do is also take some time to visit my website and watch the interviews. Psst, this URL will take you there. drinkwater.donnaoriowo.com. I think there's a lot to be gleaned from them, and certainly it opens up the conversation to stop this idea of there being only one right way to know what self-esteem is and only one way to access it. I'm more interested in making sure that there are multiple routes to having the self-esteem that you want to have, however that looks. After all, the saying is, there are many ways to skin a cat, though I still don't know why we are skinning cats. Another thing that makes this book different is that Black folk are the focus. Black people and the unique challenges we face are typically excluded. Black women in particular have been left out of all conversations about self-esteem. If we don't start that conversation, then we're not having it because no one else is going to start that conversation for us. I am making sure that for once, we are central in the way that we should have been in the first place. I'm centering the Black woman's experience and how we are able to access all that self-esteem greatness. A book is not a people. This isn't a book made for my proselytizing, though if you want me to pass the collection plate, I will. There are actual steps that I want you to take from this book, which means we're not just listening to listen. We're listening for life. We're listening for change. We're listening so we can actually understand, access, and heal our self-esteem. ICYMI. Healing is not a destination. It is not linear. Healing is a whole-ass journey that has ups and downs, which can sometimes make you feel like you're moving backwards or even not moving at all. It can be hard out there in them healing streets. The other thing to consider is this. If you weren't harmed in isolation, why would healing be a solo job? Healing happens in community. meaning this work is not just for you by yourself.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?